So let's move on then to your next one.
Yeah, so the next one we're going to try is a Chardonnay. And Chardonnay is obviously one of the most versatile grapes in the world. And this is very much an English expression of Chardonnay. When we're making wine, because we have variability in weather in the UK, our decision has been to go with that particular vintage and try to make a wine that truly represents the vintage. When we actually serve this wine to a lady only... When we served this wine to a lady only 2 or 3 days ago, she actually stood up, almost transfixed, and told us the wine smelt of the summer meadows in Sussex that she remembered as a child when she was growing up, which I think is
how lovely.
A lovely thing to say.
Yeah.
This wine is very, very floral. It's got a lovely, lovely nose to it. It has aromas again of that sort of honeysuckle that we picked up on the but pear and apple, a little bit of rose, and a touch also of vanilla. America?
Yes, it's all right. We do have. It's funny because when Nick was talking about when he was in Burgundy, talking about that smell of the earth, the smell of the sides, and then this lady stand up and say, "Just remind me when I was a child. I can smell it." So that is smell of English meadow as a fruit coming up. Because in England everything grows green beautifully. And then if you think about this wine, the honey come up as well. It's funny enough, but to say that, but you do feel a little bit of stone fruit come up of that. Surprisingly, at the moment the wine is quite young because it's a Chardonnay will develop, it's become more like secondary aromas. At the moment the wine has that little bit of vanilla coming up on the nose and then on the taste. We oak it very lightly oak. There we have some Burgundy oak barrels here from
so they're 3-year-old barrels, and it was on oak for about 5 months. So kind of limited contact, really, just to get the micro oxygenation there, a little bit of contact with the oak for aging, but again, not to overdo it, because this is a light wine. It's an English expression of Chardonnay.
So the wine itself is very rich on the smell, on the nose. You smell it, you can smell that fruit, you can smell the honeysuckle, you can also smell that white apple coming up to that very at the end of your nose. You have the white apple, you can even feel the white apple in your mouth even before you actually try it. And then the acidity coming up down there. As you drink it, it's like warm, but it's crispy on that. And then you do have all these aromas coming up to the taste on your palate. Again, it's all the wines. It's quite smooth, it's creamy, have a very beautiful mouthfeel, long finish. So the wine will keep you on there. You drink it, you can still feel on the throat. And that is actually this Chardonnay. Chardonnay is a great variety that actually change a little bit with the time. And then also, as they start to develop, they have a very beautiful potential for aging.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the 2020 version of this, which is now, obviously we've only had 2 vintage experiences of this. The 2020 has developed a creamy palate, very similar to what you would get with kind of high quality Burgundy wines. So this is a wine that is really going to have 2 lives: a young life where it's sort of kind of got lovely kind of fruit aromas to it, but it also has depth and potential for aging. And we'll see that creamy palate will develop over time. So it's one to drink now, or alternatively put in your cellar.
Yeah, so the wine is full body, so the wine is actually very rich. And then we actually, the 2020 that we sent to competition, it was the wine that we got the overall the best wine in the country with our Chardonnay 2020. Now we have the 2021 in which we are allocating. So only some people can actually have availability to sell this wine, because we made it in very small bunches. That's what we want to do here. We want people to every year have the experience of a different wines from the same grapes, from the same site.
So on that note, sorry, America, so are you guys going to stick to just vintage wines then?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you know, what we want to do is really to do an expression of each year's vintage. And again, each year is different. It may mean that our wines do have some level of variability, but that's the nature of English weather patterns. And I think we should embrace that rather than try and rectify it. And we're going to have some wines which are going to be deep and rich, other wines which are going to be lighter. And it's about our job as winemakers and viticulturalists to bring the best out of that season.
So you're not trying to mask it essentially and hide from how the weather was at that year. You'll be working with the climate in that sense.
That's right. So 2021 was a year which, you know, was not the hottest year, but it had lovely levels of acidity in the wine. There's lovely fruit, and this wine is an expression of that year.
Yeah, what we did in this wine, because of the thing is, our vineyard is not a back garden, so we're there all the time. So when we made it, everybody finished harvest, everybody was already in vinification. We still didn't harvest because we thought that the wine wasn't, we were checking the sugar with our hydrometer and spectrometer. We didn't think that the sugar was good enough. And then we said, why don't we wait until the last moment to get as much sugar content, have the right pH, the right TH, tartaric acid to make a very outstanding wine. The good thing about having English weather is some country, you're going to have the same wine again and again and again and again. The good thing about England is you can actually have a variety that is variable. You're going to have every year different wine. And then comes up to the vineyard manager and then the winemaker to work harder to keep the standard, to make it better to what they have. And then it's quite a challenge. But it's good because, you know, I can't live without a challenge.
Yeah, but it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun because, you know, you're trying to husband nature as opposed to, you know, trying to change it. And, you know, that's what we think, you know, winemaking is all about.
Well, particularly in a cool climate, it really is about working with the climate, because if you fight against it, I mean, you're going to lose. It's already, anybody knows, I think, who works in the wine industry, but particularly who owns a vineyard and works in the vineyards, it's hard work. It's a bit of a slog for a while, and then to battle with the elements constantly, particularly again in our cooler climate, it's hard work.
Yeah, it's
a lot of fun. Very, very rewarding.
You know,
Exactly.
when you talk about culture, for us, for example, the temperature raised for more than 10 degrees for 10 consecutive days. So you say, oh, the bud's gonna burst. And then all the little shoots come up. And then all the winemakers vineyard man is gonna be extremely stressed. And you say, oh, we should be happy. I said, no, because it happened in the spring. And then in spring you have a very good hot day and very, very cold night. When the temperature go below -2 for more than 2 hours. The dew point is high, you have frost, and then that's you fighting, working with the nature to make sure that you don't lose everything, because you can actually lose everything in a day.
Yeah. I mean, it's the frost and there's the birds. There's
a
whole bunch of things.
And then again,
so you have to be risk tolerant.
Yeah, it starts to like you get a sprint and it come up that rain, and you again you say like, oh my goodness. Flowering fruit set, I can't have rain when the flowering fruit set, so I deliver it, so I tackle in, so I make sure that everything is moved, so I have some air there to stop the downy mildew, the powder mildew, and then coming up to veration, that's beautiful, and you walk into the field and you see all the grapes, especially the Pinot Noir, changing color in the same bunch, shining to you, and you can say, pick it up one, try to see the sugar content, that you say, wow, that's amazing. You can see everything coming up in color, and that's amazing. So that experience, you walk with the babies around you, that's fantastic. So this money can't buy.
Well, as you said, I think that's the perfect way to sum it up. The grapes, the vines, I mean, these are your babies, aren't they? There's so much nurturing that you put into it. And then you have a great wine at the end of it. That's the goal.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's move on to your last one.
One is the Pinot Noir.
So did you always intend on trying a red? Because it is a bit harder for a lot of the reasons that we've been speaking about, and some of the vineyards only make sparklings, and so a red is always a little bit more of a risk. So what were your thoughts behind that?
Well, my thoughts were this, that again, Pinot Noir is a very elegant grape, when it's caught in its right, habitat. And, for us, we wanted to see what expression we could get of Pinot Noir grapes here in England. So we've got a variety of different Pinots. This was made from the 777 variety, which is Burgundy clone. And we're quite happy with certainly with the kind of the color that we got from this wine. It's got a very kind of rich, nice
deep ruby color, you can see. Yeah.
And I think the challenge, obviously, when making wine in England, is to try and are you going to be able to extract enough tannins? Are you going to be able to get as much color as you can out of the wine? And I think we've managed to achieve that, whilst preserving quite a lot of fruit in the wine itself. The fruit is very kind of rich. We've got lots of kind of red berries in this.
Okay, so basically what's happening in this wine, you can see that it's deep in color. So it's a deep ruby, so it's very rich. We have a 12% alcohol on that one. So the wine, the strawberries, get strawberries on your nose, the strawberries coming up, because it's like one of the main characteristics of the Pinot Noir. You have that rich strawberries coming up to your nose. And you have a little bit of a cranberry, red fruits, red, most of these forest red fruits, like summer red fruits on the nose. You get it, the same coming up. You can smell a little bit of the acidity. This one is a 777 clone, so basically it's a Burgundy clone. We use different clones here, so you use a champagne clone to make it sparkling, and then we don't use Pinot Noir Precoce here. We use 777. That's basically it's difficult to grow because the bunches is quite tight together, but it's very rich. You can extract the color, you can extract that massive amount of strawberry on the nose, and then you have a little bit of end coming up with that strawberry cheesecake when you're drinking up on the back of your palate of your throat. So that is the characteristic of this Pinot Noir. And then you can see here the color is quite dark. I have 12% alcohol as well, so we're quite pleased on that. On the nose is what you get, and then as you on the palate, you have a little bit of that tannins coming up, but soft tannins, because the Pinot Noir is a grape that is light. It's very good for cold country, and with this weather change, we are in the right weather, we can get a very, very good Pinot Noir. So if the weather is not good enough, you're not going to extract enough tannins, enough taste, and then it's going to be too much acidity. With the right weather, you're going to get that mellow coming up as well. We're going to have the cream, it's smooth, but you have that tannins coming up and show that they're alive, holding into the palate, and then that's more what this wine is for. And then is make a huge difference when you have the right clone and the right rootstock. So that's the wine that you have here. That's our first Pinot Noir. It's still young. This wine is developing, because the Pinot Noir is a wine that is developed with the timing. So it's quite young wine at the moment, but you can have that massive fruit coming up from the taste is smooth as well. All the wine here is quite well balanced. You have the alcohol, you have the acidity, you have the fruit flavor, everything in harmony. So you can feel just the pleasure of have a nice wine. Goes very, very well with fish, go well with macaron cheese, duck, go very well with Chinese food because you have that acidity that can break it up.
And also game.
Lamb, go extremely good with lamb. Any game because it's breaking up the fatness of the heaviness of the food. And then I do have it with my picanha. So there's a Brazilian barbecue all the time. Yes, pretty much. And cheers.
So is this your first go at making a red?
This is our first red that we've made. So we've actually got the 2021 vintages still sitting in barrels. So we haven't even bottled that yet. So this is 2020. Again, this is a wine that we think is going to age well. We've made some very small batches before, which we've sort of stuck in a cellar. We've left them there for sort of 3 or 4 years, and they've aged very, very well. But that was very small quantity.
Yeah. So when we were actually studying Plampton, a lot of our experience was a lot of the wine that was making there was like from frozen grapes, whatever. What we decided to do, we went to next door neighbor and bought like 200 kilos of grapes, and then we decided to make our first wine in like back in 2014, and we made this wine, and then of course was Nick and I fighting to see who is going to make the wine, because I think that I'm better winemaker than him. He's the best winemaker here, and then we fight all the time to see, and then
well, I mean, some of the wines have more input from one or other of us, and so in future we're actually planning to make separate batches sometime. So make some wine together, make separate batches. We're not going to tell anyone which one was America's and which one was mine, but you'll see the smile on our faces if the wines get awards.
The thing is, we always we are very competitive here between us, and then we try to all the time make something better and better and better and better. And then doing that is not only that benefits us, it's pushing us to have the challenge to ourselves, but again, it's get to the customer, to our client to taste the best of the wine itself, because we only release which one is the best.
Yeah, but I think in the winery, I think America is probably the more sensible one. I'm the one who always wants to experiment, and I'm actually prevented from doing more than one thing to each batch that's different, which is sensible, because otherwise I don't have a control against which I can measure it. But America's the one who holds the stick in the winery. She's like, Nick, only one thing. Remember, only one thing.
Well, the talent is good because he is very he used to be risk manager, right? So he likes to take risk. So he go around and he try to do these things. And I said, okay, but hold on. On the vineyard, he's seeing that I'm cows outside and then order inside. For me, it's, sometimes he goes to the winery, he thinks that he's still a little boy playing with his games, like with all his toys. All this machine. So I buy more machine. So I buy my wineries. I buy more things, more barrels. Calm down, Nick. Let's, and then it's just why we have our own lab, because we want to do experiment. We want ourselves to see to measure to do the titration, to measure the acidity, everything. All wine so far that we did, we sent to competition. We sent to the PDO as well, because by the way, Success got the PDO this year that we are very happy. Yeah. So yes.
I say this is a Kent wine. So I was brought up in Kent over the border, but
yes.
It is good. And I think, the Sussex PDO is very useful as a benchmark for quality. I think that's where I see it fitting in. And I don't think it actually precludes sort of smaller terroirs and lower level PDOs being set up on a terroir basis. So I see it as complementary. I think a lot of people have said, well, look, there are different terroirs in Sussex. There are, but you first of all got to establish a quality standard for the entire region, and then below that you can come up with these regional terroirs. So the Rother Valley is quite different to other parts of Sussex.
Yeah.
We have potentially a different style of wine, and we may well, 10 years from now, we might have a PDO here.
Yeah, so especially like in the small region. I had an interview with Bain, the Be Inclusive, and then they actually asked me, what do you think about this PDO? And I said, I think that's a fantastic thing that happened to the wine industry. We are baby, we are growing, and then to be able to show quality of the grapes of the winemaker that we're there, because we are fighting, guys. We are like working hard to get to these people and then get our wine overseas. I went to Austria and I was there, and then I got a guy shouting all the time, oh, English is going to be the new champagne. I said, maybe better, maybe.
Just maybe.
But I think, you know, the still wines is for us is a really interesting area, because I mean, English wines established themselves as great sparkling wines. They're winning international competitions. And I think, you know, still wines are now following through. I think we're seeing lots of really good still wines emerging in the UK. And I think, you know, America mentioned earlier on, what we don't want is the qualification, oh, it's good for an English wine. It has to be good.
Yeah.
When
got to
people
compete
come
on the
here,
world stage, isn't it? Sorry, go on, America.
You know, when people come here and then they do say, because we have people here from France, from other country, and they do say, well, it's a very, very good wine. They don't say it's good to be English. And then what I want people to say is amazing wine, and then it is English.
Yeah, I think that's the point. It's got to be, when they try it, it's not a question of making the point that it's English or that it's not. It's just, is this a good wine? Is this a good example of something that I want to drink? And then if you back it up with, well, it's English, then that's even better. But I completely agree. So what's coming next for Oastbrook? What's in the pipeline?
Well, I mean, lots of interesting things. I mean, hopefully, you know, if we have a good crop this year, then we can start to experiment on different varietals to come up with different kind of versions of that same varietal. You know, I think that the Pinot Blanc, the Pinot Gris, the Pinot Meunier lend themselves to very much a kind of fruit-forward, kind of younger wine style. The Chardonnay, you know, has this mixed personality where we can demonstrate that it has like a kind of young and very kind of youthful version of itself, but then also one that can age. And so what we're going to be doing with some of the Chardonnays and the Pinots is we're going to be bringing some out earlier, and then we're going to be aging some for longer in barrel, just to really see what happens. Again, not using new oak, using kind of older oak. We've tried fermentation in barrel a little bit this year. We're going to try a little bit more of that. And again, you know, we've made an orange wine.
We made an orange wine,
small batch against orange wine with Chardonnay, and that is really quite interesting. And it's got quite a lot of character to it. And you know, really sort of nice, rich color to it. We haven't yet released that, but we might release that in slightly bigger quantities next year.
Yeah, what we want to do here, for example, any experiment that we do, we don't want to do, for example, we make the Chardonnay, 100% Chardonnay, nice ripening, nice quality, clean grapes. We want to make experiment with the best of the grapes itself. We don't want, like, when I was talking to people about orange wine, they were like, oh, you know, when you don't, the wine is not good, the vineyard is not good, the harvest is not good, you make into orange. I said, no, I'm going to make an orange wine that is very good. We want to make the wines here that is a good information, that are good, like reflect what the variety can be done. And then to do it, we have to get our best grapes. And then if I'm going to get somebody to try orange wine, I want them to try the best version of an orange wine that they can ever possibly have, and then the best variety.
But it's a little bit like cooking, isn't it, America? Really. So what we do is first of all got to see what ingredients that we've got coming in, and that sets us going to decide what we're going to do to it. So in part, we don't actually know what wines we're going to make this year. We know we're going to make a series of different wines, but what we're actually going to do is going to be very much dependent upon that season. You know, are they going to be more fruit forward? Are they going to age? What's the acidity level? And we just have to work with that.
Well, what I say here in my tour, sometimes when people say, oh, you know, everybody say, well, why make you different from the other wines or the vineyards or the places? What I say to them is like, okay, you pick up a piece of meat, right? And then this meat is very good, primered, and then it's first cut, and then you pick up a good winemaker or good chef and give this good meat to the chef, and you give it a good meat to the other chef. One chef, you identify the meat, say, look, that meat is amazing. I'm just gonna put a little bit of salt on there, nothing else. Cut it and see the blue coming up of the juicy. I didn't do anything to the meat because the meat was good already. The other chef, what he did, oh, the meat is good, but I'm a very good chef. I'm gonna put thousands of spices that I learned from that. I put a lot of things, gonna be amazing, better than the other guy. and then you end up to have a bad meat because the chef thought that he was too good, and then make a lot of intervention. If the fruit is good, if the wine, if the meat is good, don't do anything. Let the meat do itself. Let the fruit work, and then you get a bad harvest, a bad meat, very like the worst meat that you can have. Pick up 2 chefs, pick up the best chef in the world, give this meat to the chef. Doesn't matter how much spice the chef's gonna make. It doesn't matter what he's gonna fight. It's still not gonna be good. It's gonna be, you can't say that, but it's gonna be bad, right? Because the meat itself wasn't good.
Yeah, and it's about those sort of
it's the quality.
in the ingredient. But again, you know, we've got to see what the grapes are like. Then we're going to see what we need to do with those grapes to turn it into a great vintage. But I think, you know, we will experiment with little changes to some of the grapes. So we may be making some more fruit forward wine, or some wine that's going to age, and it's going to depend upon what yeast we use, how long we allow the fermentation to last, whether we do malolactic fermentation on the wines or not. So all these things are going to develop the character of the wine, but we think of ourselves as stewards of those grapes coming through.
Yeah, and then what we want to do it as well, that's like I said, I'm a beekeeper, so now I'm a new beekeeper. I'm learning, learn a lot. We want
so we're going to be making meat as well, mate.
No. I want to make skin products. So with the grape seeds, with the grapes oil, because it's antioxidant, it's anti-age. I have roses. We're in England. We planted more than 250 roses around the vineyard. You're coming in is red all over the place, and then the different colors. So that represents the rich English weather that we have here with a lot of roses. So we're going to make some skin products of rose. And then if my plan work, I want to make into a spa. You can come and have your sparkling, have your massage done, your facial, and enjoy the whole day in the English vineyard in Oastbrook.
Yeah. Exactly.
It doesn't sound like anyone would leave after doing that.
Well, yeah, they don't. They stay. It's like Hotel California here.
They have the whole experience. They experiment. They decide. They go to visit Bourgeon Castle because we are 10 minutes. We have a foot pass there. We have some people from Grey Nichols coming sometimes to talk about the bat. We have like a Rother. We are in the Rother, on the north of the bunch of the north side of the Rother. So you can kayak from here. So you can actually have that.
Well, actually, we did kayak once. I took America kayaking all the way to Rye. I mean, you were cursing me by the end of it. I took us 8 hours to get there and 8 hours back.
No food, no food, and raining. And then I was like, I thought they were going to find a pub.
So I don't think I'm going to get it back in that kayak for a long time.
No, I go, but I know next time I have some food inside, music, so you can have a nice time, wine. That's it.
Well, thank you both for sending these wines through. I'm glad we've been able to talk through them and introduce them as well to the audience. I mean, I look forward to being in touch and hearing what's coming next. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Guy. Cheers. Bye-bye.